diggity, diggity dog. Breaking, diggity, diggity dog. Sharp breaking. Diggity, diggity dog.
Hello, these are the Tipping 40's on episode 47 of the Tipping 40's podcast.
Yes,
I'm Alex.
I'm one of those Tipping 40's, and my name is Michael.
I'm Ryan.
I am also a member, Benson.
But you're not only a member, you're a president. What is it? No, that's not right.
I'm not only the president, I'm its biggest customer.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
something like, I don't know.
Jerk face store, yes, that's what they're talking about, but they all got it wrong, so whatever. So, today we're going to do a podcast about stuff. Ryan's going to talk about guns, Mike's going to talk about job loss. If you want to send us a voicemail, dial in to 218-666-8407 and leave a short voicemail.
I'm talking to you, 3-minute person.
Or send us an email at podcast@tipping40s.com. That's 40s with letters and not numbers.
I'm actually going to recommend that someone just download a timer widget. There's actually websites with them.
You could look at a clock.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, or do that, whatever, and look at the timer and just watch it. And
Or just look at the call length on your phone.
Well, if they're using their phone.
Or
if they're
just
using
when you
Skype,
start
though.
the voicemail, just start talking about what you want to talk about instead of saying for 15 seconds, I don't want to be long, I know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So,
3 minutes.
so
Okay. Let's move on.
let's
here.
move on to, I'm also going to do Beer of the Week as well in top 5. So let's move on to emails, Ryan.
We had one, really, I'm going to read. This one's from Steve. He says, I thought you guys would be interested to know that Switzerland probably has the highest gun ownership rate in the world. That's because at the age of 20, men are required to undergo military training.
Yes.
Oh,
I
okay.
think Israel does the same thing, actually.
Yes.
Continuing on.
So wait, they're required?
Yeah, forced military service.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's why they're neutral as fuck. Mm-hmm. They gotta be more neutral than you think.
Depending on the situation and how it's enforced, like, in terms of, like, what the military
Well, their
service
military
entails
isn't
and
anything like
everything.
ours there.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. I'm sure it's a lot different, but I don't see anything really wrong with that, honestly.
I don't see why they need to do it, though, because...
Oh, they don't.
Because, whenever there is a conflict there, like in World War II, you just make a deal with Hitler, and then you're okay.
Well, not just that. Who really wants to attack them?
Yeah. Continuing
Hitler.
on, continuing on,
that's
Steve
true.
says, I'm British, so culturally we're conditioned to think guns are bad. I'm not really bothered about gun ownership, but they're usually more dangerous to the user than who intend to defend themselves against, than the people that, I said that wrong.
Yeah, but we get what you're saying.
Yeah. At least in
He's saying
Switzerland they
that
have
they're
decent
more
training.
dangerous for the person who owns them than for anyone that they're trying to defend themselves against.
Yeah, when I see if it's loaded, I look in the barrel to make sure there's a bullet
What
in
that
there.
statement means is people are stupid.
Yeah, well, that's what he says. I
He's
suppose,
right. He's right about that.
I suppose idiots owning guns will help in natural selection.
We're going to talk about that a lot. So.
I think guns are a lot like microphones. You give someone a microphone that's not around microphones, and then
Or
plug
you
it
film
into
someone, yeah. same thing.
and you plug it into a Marshall stack or something, and be like, "Hey, here you go. Just hold this. Don't do anything." And they'll be like, "Test, test, poop, 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 poop."
And then it feeds back and double the amp, so...
Ball sack, yes.
That's just what you do, Mike. That doesn't mean everyone
what I
else
do.
does.
All right.
That's it, really.
That's
it.
the way.
All right.
Yeah.
Voicemail.
Well, let's hear a couple of voicemails. We got 2 of them that are actually usable.
Hey, Tipping 40s, you're talking about season finales. Well, I know you all don't really like Star Trek, but you Space 9 had a 10-episode season finale, and it was great. And that's all I got to say. Also, The Next Generation had a good season finale, too.
What show?
Yeah.
Next Generation.
Talking about Star Trek.
Yeah.
Various Star Treks.
Yeah, there's a reason why I don't talk about Star Trek. It sucks.
Yeah, it's...
I don't mind Star Trek, but...
Me and Alex were talking about it briefly before. The problem that me and him have with it is that the show's really boring to us. I guess it's fine if someone really is interested in it, but I've never found it even
You need to
remotely
have more...
interesting.
It's more towards sci-fi people.
No.
I
it's not
like
even that.
sci-fi.
It's not that at all.
I don't like Star Trek because it's boring to me.
Oh, there's also like 5 different series.
Like,
so I mean,
Yeah, I know, and I've seen episodes from all of them, and I didn't like any
Never
one
saw
I saw.
Enterprise. I only saw the opening of Enterprise.
That's the
which
new
is
one,
best,
right?
Which is the best thing ever if you haven't seen. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I saw like
Yeah,
an episode and a half of that too, and it was just as boring to me.
Silent Rim used to watch Next Generation all the time. It's an hour-long show. I'm just sitting there, he's like so interested in it, and I'm just like, this is the most boring fucking thing I'll ever change the fucking channel. It's like, no, I love this.
My problem with that show is I like they try to have a lot of political discourse in it, which I think is good, but the problem is that the characters, all their depth is directly related to the political stuff for the most part. It's not related to, at least the series I've seen, which is only Next Gen, and, well, the original one,
the original running around banging aliens. And
Next Generation, everyone's like super proper and stuff.
The problem, I mean, I don't know overall with this show. I haven't seen enough of it to really pass any real judgment, other than I know that I don't like it. But like the problem I've always had with it is every time I watched it, it felt like the show had like really interesting concepts that were just poorly executed.
Yeah,
like,
that is.
time.
I agree with you that they have a lot of like not so much philosophical, but like what happens when we meet like these aliens that don't know something or whatever, and you have to like think morally around these sort of things. But like a lot of the times, the acting and the setup is pretty bad.
Yeah,
Whoopi Goldberg.
It's hard to watch.
Budget really killed Next Generation a lot too. Just it looks real cheap. And like the sets are and the acting is, again, you can't get good actors, so you get like scale pay actors.
Shut up, Wesley.
All right, well let's go to the next voicemail. We're done talking about Star Trek here.
Hey, you guys were talking this week about series finales. I don't know if any of you guys have watched Showtime's 6 Feet Under. It has its ups and its downs, but mostly it's a pretty darn good show, and it definitely has one of the best finales ever. If you guys haven't seen it, it's worth watching through the whole thing just for that, and I think you might find others agree. Anyway, keep up the good work. Bye.
I watched the first 2 seasons, but I never saw the end.
I universally have heard this for the most part as well, and I was planning to watch 6 Feet Under until True Blood came out, and then I went, I can't watch anything this guy watches because I'm worried. Now I'm worried of investing my time in a new show because I don't like how True Blood's written even, so it's tough.
I agree, though. I've seen a few episodes of 6 Feet Under, and that and True Blood are completely different. They're not even remotely similar.
Well, I was talking about like how people talk in True Blood.
It's
usually
not
that's
like
the
that.
same. That's so weird because
It's
usually
not
writers
at all
stay
like
the
that.
same.
The show, I can honestly say, from what I've seen of 6 Feet Under, which is not very much of it, but I've seen a few episodes, and that show seems really great. I loved it, but I just didn't. I mean, it's 6 seasons or something.
I kind of feel the same way with 6 Feet Under as it was Mad Men. It's like, oh, this show's good, but if I stopped watching it, I wouldn't care. I'm not that interested to keep. There's nothing keeping me to keep watching
I haven't watched enough of it to get bored of it. I understand what you're talking about with Mad Men because I've watched all of Mad Men up to this point.
They're good, but I'm like, I don't really need to watch the next one. There's nothing that's like keeping me in. Like,
it's really hard to go, yeah, I'm going to watch this whole series. It's like 60 hours or, The Wire, 60 hours. You're like, holy fucking shit, that's a lot of time.
Well, if you watch one episode a day, I mean.
But that's still a lot of time.
Yeah,
but you're right, though. You go, I can watch this thing I know I'm going to be invested for months watching this, or I can just watch a movie and I'm done.
And then by the time you finish that one, there's another one you have to watch anyway.
Yeah, or I can watch... We have a wiener on True TV and yell at the TV.
Or we could just watch True Blood.
I gotta say, the voicemail caller, good job, short, concise, to the point.
Yeah,
he did it.
Thank you.
That's good.
Both of those were short, actually.
I don't know if you guys... I always have this dilemma when I'm watching shows like that, especially hour-long shows. You start watching it, and you really like it, and you're really interested, and you get to the end of an episode, and you're like, man, I want to watch more of this show.
Yep.
But do I want to sit here another hour and watch another... I mean, it's so fucking long.
And that's how I watch The Wire, though. I would watch 3 or 4 episodes at a time and then not watch it for a week or two.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to stop watching, but it's also hard to get yourself to watch another episode because they're so damn long.
Yeah, and you feel like a piece of shit after. Holy crap, I wasted a whole Saturday night watching The Wire. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I'll definitely get around to watching 6 Feet Under one of these days. I just haven't gotten there yet. Anyway.
So we're going to kind of...
I think we're moving on to beer time.
All right, so beer of the week is
Leffe.
And Ryan and I always call it Hefe for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why you call it that.
No.
It is a blonde ale. And Ryan, I want to see...
It's a Belgian pale ale, actually, but...
Abbey Ale. Blonde is what it says.
Well,
so
yeah.
I'm reading what the actual
It's
thing
not a
says.
pale
on
ale.
here.
Not pale ale.
It's on Beer Advocate.
I want you to...
Well, they're
that's
wrong.
fucking wrong.
This is not
the
a pale
bottle.
ale.
This is the bottle.
It tastes like a blonde.
I want you to
Definitely.
read what that brewery
Yeah.
is, Ryan.
It's Abbé de Jefe.
Okay, sort of.
Does it say Hefe or Lefe?
Yeah, Lafay, whatever.
Maybe they technically the way they make it classifies it as a pale ale. I don't
It does
know.
taste like a blonde, you're right.
It doesn't taste like a pale ale at all.
no.
So.
It's a 6.6%, which is pretty good for a blonde.
I think it's pretty funny what's on
yeah.
the back. It says, "Savor the mystery of the ages."
Yeah, it's so like cryptic. It sounds like something from Game of Thrones.
But it's a pretty good beer. It's light. It's kind of sugary. I don't know if you like that. But,
We bought this at Safeway, right? So yeah, they're easy to find.
You can find it in the grocery store depending. It's not something where you'll find like everywhere, but it's not
Pretty
hard.
common.
It's not hard to get either. Yeah, I would say the way I feel about this beer, and I'm drinking one right now actually, is that the beer's quality is higher than the price you pay, which is
Yeah, especially, and it's on sale a lot too. Which
it
nice.
is. Yeah, I just think it tastes a lot better than what you would expect from something that's like $8 a 6-pack. It tastes pretty good.
Yeah, but High Life, I can get 18-pack for $10.
Yeah, and that's High Life. Tastes like crap. So there you go.
Get 10 more.
Mystery solved.
10 more.
quantity over quality.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right, so that's the beer of the week. Now Ryan's going to talk about guns.
Okay, so last week Alex talked about the gun laws, and I got into a conversation with a friend of mine who happens to have strong feelings on gun laws, and he was saying, well, the segment we had was informative in the factual sense, like we talked about the laws and whatnot. We never really discussed any of like the reasoning behind it or what we feel like the gun laws in America should be. It was more of just presenting the facts instead of trying to interpret them. So we had I had talked with him for almost an hour over IM about this, and it's kind of the catalyst for this segment here. Another thing that also sparked this is I read an excellent New Yorker piece that I sent to probably, I think, both of you.
Yeah, I read the whole thing.
Yeah. And so, like, one of the things that my friend was saying is, like, well, what role should guns play in modern America? I mean, should they be used for self-defense for people that just have them? Should they be used for sporting and hunting only? Should they just be outlawed? I mean, this is more of an open discussion sort of segment here because he felt that, like, I don't know, we presented the facts, but we didn't talk about them at all. So,
Well, the point that you made when we were talking about it very briefly, I think you just like basically mentioned it to me, but the point that he made, I think, is something that's not really brought up that often when people talk about gun control, because most people are either they like guns, like they enjoy shooting guns, and they don't, they think it's bullshit that anyone wants to take away their ability to have a gun, or people are anti-gun and they feel like there's no reason for anyone to own a firearm, which is understandable. But I think the point that you were saying is that saying if you're anti-gun and you say we should ban guns, that's literally impossible.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
We live in fucking America where
At this point, there's
what
no
How does
percentage?
banning drugs work?
Well, there's basically a gun for everybody in America.
I mean, it's like
Not for the brown people.
I'm talking about number of guns. being
Yeah.
number versus population. It's in like you're gonna ban guns, like you can't do that.
It's impractical at this point.
Yeah, it
You're
doesn't
right.
make any sense.
And one
It's
of the
a
things I was
silly
talking
argument.
to my friend about this is like when you hear the debates on TV or whatever about gun control, you have the people in the camp that's like, Obama's going to take all of our guns, this is our freedoms. And then you have on the other side of the people, it's like, this is the Wild West, we should have guns everywhere, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, it's really polarizing. The people either think there should be none or everybody should have one. And that's one of the...
No, that's the best thing to do, though, with an argument. That's what you do with abortion. You go, oh, now you're just going to kill babies right out of the womb and hit them with a club in the head? Why don't you just do that? I mean, that's what they do. They polarize it as hard as possible, so you have to group with one side.
Yeah, even though that stance is completely insane. But yeah, they do. It's true.
And like that's one of the arguments is like the left feels that like if there's less guns and more gun control, there'd be less gun crimes, and the right saying like, well, if everybody had a gun, everybody could protect themselves.
Well,
No, it just
Which
depends
both
on the
sides are wrong.
It depends
Yes.
on the. It completely depends on the people and if they're educated with it or not. And
Yep.
Well, that was one of the things.
all it is.
That's actually one of the things that the email point out that I read earlier is that like in Switzerland where they have mandatory military training, they train you how to use these guns. And I don't know anything about the Switzerland's gun control or gun violence laws or anything.
It's not just how to use them; it's what they're for. People think they like, oh yeah, I can have a gun now. I could go have some fun. Some people do it literally buy it just for self-defense. Some people buy it for hunting, like you said. But if you have a gun, you can do all of the above. Doesn't matter which one you're doing it for. You can do all of them. Because it's like they said, oh, you can only buy guns for hunting now. Guess what? I have one. I can do it for whatever the fuck I want now.
Yeah.
And there's a law against it, but if I need to use it.
Problem. I think I think the gun issue is one of the biggest distractions in this country. I think it's such a low priority right now. Like, come on. And also, at the fall of Republicans, too. Stop fucking bringing it up. Just shut the fuck up. Who cares? You got enough gun rights. You don't need more, okay?
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't need 50 cals or anything else. I don't know where else you could go. But I gotta say, like, it's funny to hear liberals go, oh, we should legalize drugs because it does nothing to restrict them. But at the same time go, oh, but we should restrict guns because it would keep things safer and less people would use them. It's like...
Yeah, do these people even know how many... Do they realize how many people that drugs kill?
Yeah.
And they act like drugs are harmless, but guns aren't? Listen, I mean, I'm not against regulation on guns, but I think that, like he was saying, that there's a very good point in that, which is that it varies from person to person. You can't trust the same you can't take two people and trust one of them with a gun and not the other one unless they both go through the same training also, and just they prove to you that they are able to use a gun responsibly.
I think training would really help.
I think Mike brought up a good point about the whole we should legalize drugs, but not legalize or not legalize drugs, but
restrict more.
Restrict. I think even in that argument itself, it's kind of extremist because I mean, like for example, a lot of people say, "Oh, let's legalize marijuana," but if you want to say legalize black tar heroin.
I'd be fine with that. I don't give a shit.
So it's the same as like, let's not restrict, hunting rifles, but let's restrict assault rifles. I mean, I think a big problem with the gun debate is that there's no middle ground. Like me personally, I think people, if you're not a criminal and you're an upstanding citizen and you don't have and as long as you take like a gun course, you should be able to own a gun.
See, the criminal thing I have a problem with though, just because of what is a crime in this country. If I was caught with a dime bag, I should be able.
That's a whole different topic.
But that's the problem. Like I agree that violent criminals, they should lose if they did a violent crime with a gun. They should lose their ability to have a gun for a certain amount of time after they get out of prison.
Well, then people can do violent crimes that don't involve guns, and it's like, well, maybe they will now if they get one. Maybe they won't. So.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah, the problem with the drugs versus gun argument though is that people aren't shooting up other people.
Yeah, they're not
black. They're not heroin.
You're not.
People are doing it to themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that.
And so, I mean, that's a hard comparison to make because you're right in a way. I mean, I completely agree in that sense. But the problem is that there's still the fact that a gun is dangerous to those around you as well if you don't know how to use it correctly. And I think that a large portion of gun owners do not know how to correctly use their weapons.
It's like driving.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've talked about driving before, and I feel like licenses should be very hard to get. So
I think there's too much emphasis on how they know how to use it or fire it or whatever. It's more just they don't know. They're buying it for the wrong reasons.
That's a good point, too.
Yeah, I mean,
fix that.
You're right.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone knows that the bullet comes out of the end with a hole in it. Like no one's confused about how a gun works. But the problem is that there's a difference between knowing how it works and knowing how to properly maintain and use the weapon correctly. You don't point it at a person. I don't care if it's loaded or not.
I'm saying most of the problems with guns are from people that do know how to use them and use them effectively against others. It's not like most of them. The accidents of them aren't just accidents of people accidentally killing someone because they didn't know how to use it. I mean, that happens obviously, which people should know how to do it.
I'm actually kind of curious about what the not percentage, but like number of incidents of someone purposely going out and shooting each other versus number of incidents of people leaving a gun unlocked and having a kid shoot.
Let me see if I can find it.
Most murder in this country is vengeance, motive based type thing. So it's like, hey, you stole my shit, I'm going to shoot you. Hey, you cheated on me, I'm going to shoot you and the dude you're fucking right now.
Well, that's true, but that's also true with any crime, not just gun-related crime.
Yeah, they could just do it with knives.
I mean, the vast majority of violent crimes are domestic in this country, and I think probably, I don't know about the rest of the world, but I would assume it's probably not that much different. Usually when people are motivated to do something like that, there's a reason. Most people aren't lunatics that just shoot people.
It is kind of scary, though. I mean, do you imagine someone comes in and sees his wife doing someone else, they get real angry, they don't have a gun, they may get a knife, but they're probably not going to be able to kill anybody unless they're like really good with that fucking knife. With a gun, there's a lot more likely of a chance that
an old lady can kill someone with a gun.
Yeah,
it is an
Stop her, my
equalizer.
mom will shoot.
Yeah.
Then again,
Oh wait, before we go on, not to interrupt, but here's from 2000. There were 52,447 deliberate and 23,237 accidental.
That's pretty crazy.
So it's basically half the amount of our accidental
Still a lot.
versus.
Still,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the things that you said, Alex, was you were saying not so much how to use the gun, but the intent of the gun.
yeah, because I mean, obviously, these people who are wanting to kill someone know how to use them. Like you said, but this one has been. Well,
One of the-
it could be some guy who knows how to use it. Well,
One of
doesn't
the
matter.
things
then.
that I'm
Yeah.
curious about this is, like, for example, the gun laws. I don't want to get into a state versus federal thing here, but
Yeah.
I mean the gun use. The people who use guns in, like, for example, Montana are going to be
It has to be
different
done by
than the
state.
people
It has to be.
who use guns in,
Yeah.
like, California.
Exactly. Urban areas versus rural, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've known people in the city here that have owned guns, and I knew a lot of people back in upstate New York and the rural areas who owned
The
guns.
people in the rural areas seem to be completely fine
but
with
New York,
it. I
New York's a
mean,
good example because it has the basically largest city in the country, and it also has a great rural area where hunting's probably
Yeah, and that's a problem because, there's a lot less of a reason for someone to own a rifle in New York City than there is for someone where I'm from, like out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, and I lived in an area where the vast majority of families had a gun, usually a rifle or a shotgun of some
that's
kind.
the thing. Like places like that where almost everyone does have one, then there's like almost no problem with it. But again, if someone, like you said,
No, there's a lot of accidents because people
There actually
hunt,
were a
and
lot
they-
of hunting related.
And there was almost an
accidents.
accident on our land, actually,
What?
because someone's like, "Oh dear," and then they almost shoot someone because they're trying to
how-
get the
how do you
deer.
think-
I meant intentional ones.
Well,
so.
Oh no, there weren't a lot of violent crimes in where
They're
we're
not that.
from.
They're not
Yeah,
that common.
that's
I mean,
true.
they have.
We've had like what 2 shootings in the past 2 months, right within a half mile of where we're at right now.
Yeah, and this isn't even a violent area in terms
Yeah.
of like the city. So, I mean, it's a risk you run when you open up gun laws, but the problem is that there's no.
People are going to get guns.
so-
anyway.
yeah,
the most dangerous
exactly.
groups are gangs.
Yeah.
The organized crime of some sort. They're going to get guns no matter what. You could do it just like how they get drugs. They're going to get them from fucking siloed crates from fucking China, and they'll have guns again. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I say it. Sometimes a lot of people always say if people want to kill someone, they'll do it no matter what. But also, again, how's an old lady going to kill someone with a knife? She can kill someone with a gun.
Well, she could also kill someone with a car.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean,
but
Yeah,
I don't know if there's a way to restrict, not restrict the guns, but prevent. I mean, like you said, if a person wants a gun, they're going to find it somehow.
Got an idea. What we do is we put them into a simulation game, right? Of driving, shooting, just those two. We'll start with those two. And then if they accidentally do anything stupid, we kill them. We just kill them. Euthanize them. Then natural selection.
GTA's a simulation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's just do that.
But sorry, you just totally ruined my train of thought here.
Yeah, that's because I was controlling
confusing
you.
So, do you think there's anything that we can do? I mean, like you said, if someone wants a gun, they're going to find it. But is there a way, to make it harder for them? Is there a way to protect other people from?
I think that
this,
a more
or-
organized licensing structure would be good. If someone could report you and say, like, hey, my friend shot over my head, or like he tried to go after a deer and he almost hit me, he could report you to a almost like a Better Business Bureau type situation, but
Better Gun Bureau.
but yeah, better gunsmanship.
I mean,
bureau.
I would be fine with like a driver's license style thing with a gun,
Yeah.
where you have to actually take a course to get one.
And then you have a license.
Obviously,
for it.
but in Arizona, you get to sell to anyone you want, and there isn't really a huge problem with it here. So it's like you think about it, it's like, well,
Well, they bring up
I
the
don't
whole
know.
licensing thing. Like, in order to legally have a gun, you probably have to take a course or something like that. Which, I mean, it would. That first off, that would give a legal way for the stop down and.
it would just be
organized crime,
it would just be something that would be in people's like, oh, I want to get one. I have to do this course. Fuck it, I don't want one now.
But
so, I
the
mean,
attitude that
those are the
I-
people that shouldn't have one in the first place.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Fuck it, I don't,
Well, that's
if
if you made it so that was illegal.
It's like something off. We had to pay $10.
The attitude that I have toward guns is the same that I do toward cars, and the reason is, and I think there's a big difference, and this is why I shy away from the drug comparison, is because there are things that you can do that are dangerous to yourself, and there are things that you can do that are dangerous to other people.
Yeah,
Owning a
there's a
car
difference.
and improperly using it is extremely dangerous to the other people on the road.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing as having a gun, which is that, all because you aren't the type of person who will try to kill someone with your gun doesn't mean you're not going to kill someone with your gun.
Accidentally discharge it through a wall and kill somebody.
and exactly, and that's why I feel like the same thing with a car, which I talked about before, is that licenses need to be much, much, much harder to get. Can you even imagine how much better it would be to drive around if licenses were really difficult to obtain? Yeah. It's the same with a gun.
But lots of people drive with no license, though.
Yes, they do, and they should be more heavily punished than they are, because I think that the way that it works here now is that
you just suspend your license longer.
You get in way bigger trouble for some other
Zero
violations and stuff like
alcohol,
that. Yeah, which
stuff.
I mean, drinking and driving is not cool.
Fucking terrible.
That's right. But the point is that that should be an extremely serious crime, because you haven't proven that you have the ability to control this thing that literally can kill people without you trying to at all. You can fuck up once and kill 5 people in a car.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable, and I feel the same way about guns. It's like, fine, you want to have a gun? I am perfectly fine with it. I don't fucking care. Anyone at this table, and even people I don't know, if you want to have a gun, you can carry it around, as far as I'm concerned. But you need to prove that you're able to use it.
I know the solution. We saw it in Metal Gear Solid 4 when we played it.
Oh, shut up.
Put the Patriot software on them, and then no one can shoot them, and that would work fine, I'm sure.
Yeah,
totally.
I pretty much feel that I'm fine with the way the gun laws are now, but even if they were to do like a gun license thing, like a driver's license, I prefer that.
Yeah.
Just because it would sway people away, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go. This would be fucking awesome to get one. They just get one right away.
All these fees, too.
But then they're like, oh, I don't want to go through all this. Fuck it, never mind.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people would go, well, why do I need a gun? I'm not going to go through all this license shit if I can't just go out and buy it.
Yearly registration of each gun.
Well, I don't want.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'm not
That'd be great.
No,
That'd be wonderful.
shut up.
It'd be such
Stupid.
a good. Hey, you know what? We tax cigarettes. Let's fucking tax guns more. Let's do it. Let's make some money.
Guns are taxed pretty heavily, actually.
No, we'll tax them more. Do some registration fees on them.
Tax them
Well, that's not
more.
tax.
Shut up about
You
taxes,
say
Mike.
that because you don't want to have one, so.
Shut up, Mike.
Exactly, but hey, I pay the registration
No,
fee
you're
on my
right.
car.
If he had a gun, then he would never say that. You're right.
But do you bitch about paying a registration on your car? You accept it,
Well,
right?
because the
I do.
registration goes towards things that we use when we use a car, like roads and upkeep and stuff.
Yeah, and guns go towards
Well,
the cops that
I
have
bitch
to
about-
file reports
it's
on people
supposed
who
to.
got shot.
I bitch about when I have to pay for anything, so.
Well, that's one of the problems with America is that we don't like paying for anything, and then we wonder why everything's crumbling.
Well, we're
around
not
us.
going into taxes and shit. That's not where we're
One
going
last
with
thing,
the
I guess,
gun.
before we close it out here. Do you think the U.S. can ever have a rational discussion on guns?
No. I don't think we can have a
with-
rational discussion
Not
on
with
anything
bipartisan system, no.
anymore. No.
I think. Actually, I gotta disagree. I think absolutely yes, but I think on a federal level, no way.
then possible
That's the
federal,
problem.
yeah.
That's the
that's a good
problem.
point, yeah.
Is that because I've seen states have deliberations
Well,
about.
here in Arizona, even. I mean, a lot of the Democrats here are pretty moderate to
The
conservative.
Democratic
They're
base is
the
growing significantly in Arizona. It's getting close.
That's partly a result of the
Based
of
on
Arizona
Oh, yeah.
State.
immigration, but a lot of even the Democrats down here, they own guns and protect.
A lot of them do, yeah.
rights.
And I think on a state level, I think a lot of the time the people are more realistic about what their state is capable of doing or not doing with gun laws. But we try to have this conversation on a federal level, which happens all the time.
It's impossible.
And you see people go on like Fox News, or they go on even Bill Maher, anything like that, and they talk about gun control. It's like, this is the stupidest conversation, because you got a person from fucking like, New York
DC.
City or DC, and then you got a person from like the middle of Vermont, like some governor in Vermont. It's like, are these two people going to feel the same way about guns? No, they're never going to feel the same way
think
about
of it
guns.
this
It doesn't make any sense.
I guess also that brings to the topic: what is the federal? I mean, at the federal level, what laws should there be for guns? I mean,
Well,
what's
None.
Guns.
No, it should all be done by state, I think.
Probably just anything to do with international trading of
that's
of
a good point.
arms. and
Yeah,
stuff like
that's important, and I got to disagree with you. I do feel that the license thing actually should be on a federal level, and that states can dictate how severe or how difficult it is to obtain this. But the reason is because I think that some states, and Arizona is kind of on the borderline with this, but a lot of states refuse to take responsibility for certain issues. And if there's nothing on a federal level to say, this is the bottom line thing
that works really well.
They choose to go, oh, well, fuck it then.
That works really well with minimum wage. It does. No,
yeah,
it does,
I know. I'm
because,
agreeing with you.
Because actually some states have their minimum wage still set to $5, and then they go, look, the federal government raised it to $7.25, and people actually bitch. It's like...
Yeah, the states always go like, look what you're doing to us. It's like, oh, you mean trying to actually help poor people? No, fuck that. I was going
to say real quick, you don't want that. You have to have a license to drive. You don't have to have one to own a gun, but you do. If you want to go fishing, you have to buy a fucking license.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree with that.
That license to go fucking fishing.
That's a bit different because they're not trying to regulate people accidentally killing each other with fishing rods. It's the upkeep of the land.
Oh, you don't know about air gun fishing?
It's just money thing.
Didn't used to have to have a fishing license when I was a kid. Not at all. Now you do. It's fucking bullshit. I don't have a fucking fishing license.
We did in New York, but we just went fishing anyway. No one said anything.
Usually.
You can't do it. You can't do it with hunting.
I've been checked before, and
you got to turn it in somewhere.
Yeah, I've been checked before, and we didn't have one, and they weren't happy about that. So I was
I think it's a kid though.
Well, I was a teenager, so it was like they didn't do anything.
Well, there you go, Ian. Hope that was more.
That was good discussion. I thought.
It was interesting.
So we're gonna go over today just to let you guys know.
Go for it.
Apparently his segment's really long. Apparently.
So I'm going to go over the Jobs Act. So last week on our top 5, we had the fact that Instagram had been acquired by Facebook for $1 billion. And I had said that this, along with the Jobs Act, was going to create the next tech bubble. And it was going to ruin our economy. Well, after the episode was recorded last week, I felt that before I bash and criticize this Jobs Act, I really need a better understanding of exactly what the hell it was and why it was dangerous to our economic, environment. Because all I read was like a number of articles over the past few months about it. I had known about this since November. I've been keeping an eye on it.
Let's do a preliminary guess on how many people email telling him he's wrong about his segment.
I don't know.
Whenever you do an informative segment about an act, we get like
he actually did his research
emails.
for this one.
Oh, no, he always does his research. He always does it. But
a lot of times our listeners misinterpret what I say, too, so it's not...
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that we're going to get a bunch of emails.
So, what I'm saying is this really actually a regulation nightmare, or is it just, reputable financial journalists overreacting? So, the first thing I want to say and preface this segment with is that after reading the entire bill... I can safely state that a majority of them the media doesn't know or understand what the bill even is at a broad level. They don't convey it correctly at all.
Not surprising.
Are you going to give a background of what this Jobs Act is?
Yes, I'm going to get into that. I'm prefacing
he's getting into it.
Okay. This is because the bill is extremely difficult to read and filled with regulatory broad strokes that reference existing laws without quoting the relevant captions that have changed.
So that like subsection 8 of this bill has been changed to subsection 9 of this.
Yeah, to section 9, and you're like, what bill?
So it cross-references shit all the time.
So you have to go like 3 articles deep to figure out what the fuck it's even saying.
Do they expect people to read these things?
No.
Is that the point? That's the point.
Yes, that is totally the point.
All right, well, go on.
Yeah, so, because the last thing mainstream journalists want to do is research. Because
it's true.
Because from both the media, both left and right, the bill was created to jumpstart new companies and alleviate some of the regulatory limitations or restrictions that the government feels slows their growth. That's the bullet point. That's all they say, every headline. However, they rarely told you how these regulations were to be changed because they read the bullet points. They don't fucking know. They have no clue. So when I read the bill, I found that my existing knowledge of the bill was filled with inaccuracies. First, the bill is really not about companies that are already public. It has nothing to do with that. This is prior to that. This is more about that time period from when a company is started at the beginning of its existence to the day it reaches their IPO, or initial public offering. Under this law, companies in this section can declare themselves as an emerging growth company, which I love that name, which is what this bill is to cater to. It's all about that.
What does that dictate?
Oh, well, I'm going to get into that. So now there's one other additional requirement to become an emerging growth company, and it is this. From the bill, exact quote, the term emerging growth company means an issuer and that's the person filing for it, the employer, that had total annual gross revenues of less than $1 billion.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, so how $1 billion in gross revenues is emerging is kind of confusing.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Pretty big.
Does that make Instagram an emerging company?
Well, now it does. no, they wouldn't be.
Yeah, because they just got it. Yeah, they just got their billion.
They had $1 billion in gross, so they wouldn't be eligible for this bill, which is insane. And actually, this bill wouldn't touch them in any way, clearly, which is kind of sad. But anyway, so what are the perks of being an emerging growth company? Because why would anyone file for it? We could be, actually. We could totally be one.
Let's do this thing.
We may want to. Well, here are the first juicy tidbits from Section 102.2 of the bill. Section 102, in general, that's what it says, in general, an emerging growth company shall be exempt from the requirements of subsections A and B. Now, this is the fun part. You're like, what the fuck, subsection A and B? Well, I looked them up. They are the Securities Act of 1933 and the Security Exchange Act of 1934.
This is getting cool.
Yeah, so pretty tried and true regulations from the Great Depression that prevented like stock pooling.
Wait. So stuff about bubbles again?
Yeah. But I do want to point out in this bill's defense that most of the stuff in those regulations were mostly relating to public companies. So they wouldn't really be subject to them for the most part anyways. But it's still amazing that they look at this near 80-year law as too restricting. You know, like our economy's grown immensely, and they're like, whoa, I don't think companies can grow under this. You know,
a near 80-year law that was supposed to regulate some of the problems that sent their country into depression.
Yeah.
Continue.
So there are three other components to this bill that are troubling involving these emerging growth companies. And they'll kind of get more serious as I go along. The first is now instead of needing to provide 3 years of audited financial statements, you only need to provide 2.
This is before going public, right?
Yeah, nothing. This has nothing to do with a public company. This is that time period from when you start to when you become an IPO.
This is just another bubble thing right there.
Yeah, well, the reason why they did this is basically they thought, well, these companies are going to grow so fast because this bill's fucking awesome that we don't want to basically hold someone back for a year before they can do an IPO. Mm-hmm. They can just go right into it.
Right, exactly.
So, but it gets better. So Sarbanes-Oxley, which was passed in 2001, 2002, requires that every couple years a company must switch their accounting audit firm. Now, this was done
to prevent cooking the books, right?
Yeah, this was done because of Arthur Andersen and Enron.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly found that when there is an incentive for both parties to make money by bolstering fake financial reports, that the accounting firm's ethics will go right out the window.
That makes sense.
Shocking.
Yeah. Well, if you are an emerging growth company, you no longer need to switch accounting firms at all. Actually, just a quick tidbit, you actually don't even need an accounting firm if you're an emerging growth company, but that already existed because you're a private company.
Yeah.
But the problem is once you go public,
you need to have the backlog.
You need to have that backlog,
yeah.
So people usually keep it. Now you don't need to switch auditing firms.
This sounds incredibly fraudulent.
So you can just keep the same one until the point you go public. The problem is, obviously, that by the time a second auditing firm is brought in, if there was any incorrect financial statements...
You're already public.
Yeah, it'll be too late to fix it, as an IPO already launched, creating a large amount of danger for the public traders.
Yeah.
So the second troubling piece of regulation comes from Section 303, which is the Obama administration tagged crowdfunding, crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
Because it sounds fun, because that's what Kickstarter is.
Because it's a buzzword.
Yeah.
Tech buzzwords.
So previously, the limit of accredited investors allowed in a private company was 500. Mm-hmm. That was all it could be. It was that since like the 50s.
So this means only 500 people can put money into this public company.
Yes.
Right.
The reason was so that in theory, was to ensure that the risk was in the less regulated private market would be minimized.
Mm-hmm. So this means that if the company goes under, only 500 people get fucked.
Right, and it's like, well, you're going to have to put a lot more money to get into that in the pool.
Slice, it also increases, the investors, so that it has better quality investors going
yes.
in. Hopefully, so they know better what they're doing.
Well, now it's been up to 2,000 accredited investors, or even better, this is even better, 500 non-accredited investors. So Jimbo, the investor out of high school who thinks he's pretty swift, he can go in.
Some guy who sold his truck and he can just put in money.
Yeah, that limit's up to 500 now. It used to be a lot lower. I don't know what the exact number was, but I mean, obviously it was a lot before.
So if we're going from 500, right? Hopefully smart people losing the money to, what was it, 3,000?
2,000.
2,000 hopefully smart, or 500 really stupid people.
Yeah.
Well, no,
That's
both. Is it both?
Either or.
It's either or.
Either
okay.
or. Yeah, you can't. I actually don't think you can mix them.
That's strange.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't think
makes
accredited
sense in a
investors
way,
want to mess with the non-accredited idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So-
what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the purpose of this was to make companies able to get funding quicker.
No, there wasn't.
the intent.
There is an inherent problem that was happening. What was happening is when these companies would. What is that?
There's a cell phone
Yeah.
going off.
Oh,
job.
okay.
Just
So
keep going.
Anyways,
Just keep going.
So when a this is like sounds like topical music.
Yeah.
Giving like a bullet point. The reason for this being done is a lot of companies hit this dead zone. Like usually it's between like 100 and 300 million in annual revenues, where the company is capped out its investor limit, but still doesn't have enough revenues to warrant going public.
Yeah.
So with the additional investors, idea is the company will be better able to handle this transitional phase.
Okay.
The problem with this, though, is that typically a board for a company in this transition period is at the mercy of the investors because there's only
Yeah.
500 of them. Greatly increasing this pool of investors makes it much harder for an individual to be heard when there are concerns of a company's well-being.
Yeah.
The division of voice... Let's turn that off.
It's a voicemail thing.
Oh, okay.
So,
The division of voice also gives more power to the creators of the company as well.
Yeah, because more people are bickering among themselves
Yes.
as opposed to...
As they're now able to, but they also are going to have a larger share of the company because the pool got divvied out more, and therefore can vote down more important initiatives typically brought by shareholders, specifically earnings audits and disclosures.
Yeah.
Because usually those are brought by investors to go, hey, what the fuck's going on?
What's our money doing? And then since everybody's bickering among themselves, the board's like, nope, fuck you.
Yeah, so they don't. It's a lot harder to get the votes.
That's pretty cool.
So the third one, and the most troubling component of the bill, easily the most troubling, refers to the time prior to an IPO when the offering is rated by an outside officer.
Okay. To get background on this, before you go IPO, they have an outside audit come in and say, hey, is this a viable
It's not even an
company?
audit.
Well,
To say it's an audit, it's not even fair.
Yeah.
You will have audits on your books that they will review,
yeah, they guess, basically.
but it's a financial analyst, basically. They're usually called officers. So J.J. Colao of, and I totally pronounced that name wrong, of Forbes magazine of all publications, wrote what I think was the best article regarding the Jobs Act. So I have it in the source if you want to look at it. He goes over all of it. For the most part, unlike me, he actually likes this bill. He does.
Okay.
However, there was one component he was against, and it's this one, and I think he puts it perfectly. So he said, for many of the bill's opponents, the most troubling part of the Jobs Act is found in the language that frees up ostensibly objective Wall Street analysts to tout the stocks of their investment banking department's clients. The SEC, this is from the actual bill, the SEC and any registered National Securities Association from adopting or maintaining any conflict of interest rule or regulation in connection with an initial public offering of a common equity is basically they can pitch this. Mm-hmm. So let's say I work let's say I work as a broker, right? Or no, not a broker. Let's say I'm an analyst, and this company comes up, floozies.com. They're making fake money, and they're like,
site.
yeah. So they make new fake money, and they're like, hey, we're going to do this, and they have their audited things, 2 years worth maybe, from the same financial firm. So they have that. They give that to this guy, and then he goes. Then the floozy guy go, hey, you get a fee for how successful the IPO does. So I would highly recommend that you give us a strong buy, and then what will happen is you will get a better commission, and also you'll get our business in the future.
Yeah, well, this is the same problem with credit rating agencies.
Yeah.
Like Moody's, Standard & Poor's,
totally
etc.
legitimate.
So this is, and he called this puzzling and unnecessary, basically. He disliked this a lot. So this was a major component of the tech bubble collapse, and it was a practice known as laddering. And laddering from Investotopia is the promotion of inflated pre-IPO prices for the sake of obtaining a greater allotment of the offering.
So
right.
basically
So what
the
it's
guy
saying is that they're saying this is what it's going to be worth, not what it's worth now.
No, what happens is the guy who's rating it says this is going to be worth a ton. He gets the part, sells out when it's high.
He doesn't get to predict the amount it's going to sell for, but he gets to go, I give this a strong buy to the whole market. So the whole market goes, oh, I should buy this.
And then the price goes up, obviously, and then he can cash out.
Yeah, and then he can cash out. And here's the other great thing. He can buy stock. That actually already existed. He can buy stock in the IPO.
So it creates unwarranted market exposure for this thing that doesn't really, it's not really worth it, but basically is padding his own stock.
Yeah, it's kind of astroturfing in a way, saying this is going to be great, everybody buys it, and he sells out.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a great article by Matt Taibbi about the Jobs Act, but he talks specifically about one Piper Jaffray, who made a pitch to be the investment banker, this is in the 90s, for a medical startup called TheraSense by including a mock research report. This is how he got the job, of a strong buy recommendation. The mock report called the company's fictional sales nothing short of breathtaking. He earned $3.7 million in banking and investment fees off of the IPO launch, and then he quickly sold all the stock.
Wow.
And the company went under.
Oh, yeah, with in less than a year. It was
nice.
You can't find any proof of it on the internet. Actually, like there's some lawsuits, people suing that company. He's also being investigated by the SEC as well.
Yeah, as he should be.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't do anything illegal though. Technically,
right? He did stuff that should be illegal and
morally reprehensible.
Oh yes, absolutely,
but not illegal.
You may be able to get him on intent, but that's very hard to prove.
Vague, yeah.
So, with all these serious problems in the bill, who was behind the push for such a bill?
Let me guess, the banking industry?
No, not at all, actually, which is interesting. Well, here's CNBC windbag Kudlow with the intro.
I love you call windbag.
He's a windbag.
Joining me now is Steve Case, member of President Obama's Council on Jobs and Competitiveness. Mr. Case is the Revolution CEO. Remember, he was a co-founder and former CEO and chairman of America Online.
America Online?
Yeah. Online. Steve Case. Yes, the man behind the worst merger in corporate history with AOL Time Warner.
Yeah.
The poster child of the dot-com bubble and fraudulent growth and earnings reports. The one that Ted Turner, while an asshole, a man who made his money creating an actual company that supplied a good and was profitable, stated the AOL Time Warner merger should pass into history like the Vietnam War and the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. It's one of the biggest disasters that have ever occurred in our country. Ted Turner said that. We're going to him to tell us how to boost our bubble.
So
how to get
this is
going.
more tech companies than they're pushing this bill.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, yeah, it makes sense.
VCs are pushing this a lot.
I mean, what company starts up faster and grows to its maximum as quickly as a tech company? That happens instantly almost. Yeah. It's unbelievable how fast it is. So
yeah. So but let's give him a chance to talk. Maybe he's changed his ways or something. Maybe he has a good point.
Brand new business startups were one of the huge drivers in the boom of the economy in the 90s, including a jobs bill, Steve.
Okay, stop.
Do you think this...
So, notice, I guess Kudlow just forgot, the whole crash at the end of that 90s part. When America lost $5 trillion of net worth. No, don't mention that.
Hey, but from like 96 to 99, it was up.
It was good.
Things were going great.
Steve Case did great.
That's amazing.
But let's see what Steve Case has to say about this meatball question.
Same clip?
Same clip, sorry.
Jobs Act that was signed today will get those startups going again, because we haven't seen it in over a decade.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely going to help. And I even broaden it. I think this country was built by entrepreneurs creating companies and industries, and that's why we're the leading economy in the world.
So, notice he said something, and in words matter. He said broaden.
Yeah.
He wants it to be even bigger than the last one.
Of course.
Which was horribly overinflated. What is that good? Especially coming from this parasite that ran AOL.
For him, yes.
Well, yes.
Because he's got cash out on it.
For the type of people who invest in tech companies knowing that they're going to fail after a few years... Yes, obviously, it's good for him.
I don't say this is any different than some of these banks making these collateral debt obligations and then betting against them when they fail.
Yeah,
I mean it's the same thing.
It's the exact same situation as the late '90s tech bubble, which is that people go, look, you got this new thing, and back then it was websites.
The internet was new.
Yeah, and you go, the internet is this new thing. It's going to be huge. Everyone knows that it's growing, and I could see within the next 10 years that pretty much everyone will use the internet. So they go, okay, well, let's invest in all these websites, these companies that really don't have anything of a marketing strategy, but it doesn't matter because they're in the right place at the right time.
Well, the crux of what really ruined the tech bubble was that they thought the ad revenues were going to be the same for the internet as they were for
also,
that's killed it.
But that's the problem,
though. No one knew anything about it.
That's the problem, though, is now they think the same thing with, and it's apps. Apps is where the money is right now. It's
somewhat.
No, it is. Believe me, it's apps. It's things. I'm not talking about just like mobile apps. I'm talking about just like
software.
Just software in general, applications.
Yeah, tons of guys just make some software, year later sell it, and they're fucking rich. Make some more software, sell it again.
Same type of software.
You hear all this stuff about like 4 guys making the software and selling it for millions, but you never hear about the 4 guys making software and getting absolutely nothing.
Oh, it's a casino.
Yeah.
It's like a casino. You always hear about the guy who makes the money, but not the... But anyways. But maybe he's doing this with good merit. You know, he wants America job growth.
No, he's not.
So, no, he's not. He set it up. Come on.
We got to play devil's advocate.
Let's look up... I looked up his new company, Revolution, which he's the CEO of, and guess what they do? Just guess. Try to guess. It's
make
really not
software
hard.
And sell it to Facebook?
No, it's even worse.
Are they some kind of consultant company?
Nope, worse.
Worse than consultant?
Oh, yeah. Even more worthless, almost.
Staffing?
No, that's great. That's the real pull-in right there.
That's amazing.
Best joke.
That's great.
Yeah.
They are venture capitalists.
Ooh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, why would Steve Case, CEO of a VC or venture capitalist firm, want to create a bill to expedite the transition from startup to IPO?
Because he can make a lot of money really quickly.
No, he wants to create job growth from the job creators.
Yeah, job growth.
Because that's entrepreneurs make the jobs in this nation. Net job growth.
Trickle down.
Net job growth.
I think you're having a Republican LSD flashback.
No, it's an Obama one too. It's like
that's true, actually. Yeah,
because he pushes more than Cantor did at the end of it. But anyways, to provide a counterpoint, my coworker and he actually has a master's degree in economics. Doesn't have too much issue with this bill. First off, I should say he's libertarian, so he's pretty, government.
So we can ignore what he says.
No, because he often has good judgment, or at least a good argument in these type of matters.
Okay.
His argument about all this lax regulation and exposure to fraud was, if they do this, though, it prevents them from getting business again. Because either they ran the fraudulent company...
So he's pulling the market regulates itself.
Well, he's saying an ethical thing. Yeah. Well, also, as an investor, you're never going to want to work with them because you know they're a fucking liar.
Yeah.
And I think there's some truth to that.
But there's also dollar signs.
Yes. but let's look at a typical failed IPO, okay? The analyst rated it wrong. He gets a huge chunk of the successful IPO. From basically fees.
Yeah.
The creators of the company may have lost their company, but they got a huge payout day one that likely would have exceeded what they could have made in years of growing that company safely.
And the investors get fucked.
Yeah. Well, the banks get their huge day one payout, and then by the time the shit hits the fan, they're out. And then the board largely leaves and starts their own investments, goes into other investments before the inevitable happens. They're usually out within 12 months.
Yeah.
So everyone in the process has far too much to gain being fraudulent.
Except for the investors.
Yeah, they aren't going to jail. So what are they going to lose? Their credibility? Who gives a shit? They already got their payoff. They don't care. And a lot of these guys still get to work, actually. I mean, Jeffries, he still works. He's still in the...
Here's the thing, though.
They can just go into consultant or lobbyism.
Yeah,
it's common sense. If you can prove that you're able to make a lot of money really quickly, it doesn't matter who you're fucking over, because there's going to be someone else who sees you and goes... Well, look what this guy did. He made a shitload of money.
He can make me money.
Why can't he make me some money?
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of... I think people just naturally try to argue something in their favor. So they go, yeah, this company's financials don't look great, but it's a real great idea. Maybe it's the next Google. Maybe I'm wrong. They rationalize. Rationalize it. They do.
You're wrong.
When someone says the sentence maybe, it's
I'm not saying you. I'm saying you're wrong. You're not the next Google.
When someone says maybe I'm the next Google or the next Facebook, they're stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? They said that about Facebook, and people, including me, said that it would never make money, and now they're making a ton of money.
When Facebook came out, they said, "Why do we need this? There's MySpace." And look at it now.
I worked for a company that...
Well, I said, why would we need MySpace when there was no Facebook? So.
I worked for a company that the owner was convinced that he was creating basically, he was going to create the new Tumblr.
Yeah,
this is going to be better than Tumblr.
That's one website I don't understand.
Tumblr?
Yeah, I don't understand what it is.
It's a decent
But you
business
can
model.
repost cat pics.
No, what? I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what people do on there.
They post cat
It's
pics.
GeoCities.
It's blogging and
GeoCities.
such. Well, no,
pictures.
it's not GeoCities.
It's better, but it's the same idea.
Not really. But anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we're almost
we gotta hurry up and turn
We're
the AC,
55
holy
minutes
shit.
now. We gotta.
Yeah, I'm almost done. So we're already seeing signs of this, though, with Groupon. Even before this job bill was passed.
Yeah.
They went public, and just 2 weeks ago, so they went public in October, just 2 weeks ago, they made a $22 million quarterly earnings loss adjustment. Post facto. Further troubling, Slate reports that, and this is a quote, Ernst & Young said it wasn't just a one-off error, rather, it reflected a material weakness in the company's internal financial controls. So this was with Sarbanes-Oxley in place. Yeah. With all those safeguards, they have huge accounting problems that Ernst & Young, which, by the way, is in huge trouble for accounting fraud right now for various, basically, rating packages. Yeah. They're saying that they're pointing out how shitty Groupon's financials are. So...
Well, Groupon's been doing horribly for like a year now.
It's been doing it since they went public.
And yes, and it's because they grew too fast.
Yeah.
They took the big payout, and now people expect things that they aren't ready for yet. It's a great idea. I mean, there's money to be made there, but
they move too fast without enough.
Their earnings don't reflect their user base. It's insane.
Yeah.
So we already are having fraud in the old IPOs, and now we are opening it up for more. So what's my recommendation? Don't invest in tech companies, even the good ones. This will hurt everyone. Every tech company will be hurt by this and cause a fear in the tech sector likely greater than the first tech bubble. We can't afford another bubble, but thanks to the likes of Eric Cantor, Barack Obama, and who's the other person who wrote this, Steve Case, that's exactly what we're headed for. And some couldn't be happier. This is Kudlow closing it out.
No, it makes a lot of sense, and I hope we get those brand new business startups, and I hope you start up a whole bunch of them. Steve
I'll
Case,
do my part. Thank you
very much.
I'll
Great
do
to
my
see you
part.
I'm sure you will, Steve.
Thanks,
Case.
Kulo.
I'll do my part.
Yeah, there was, I don't know where it was, but there was an interview on NPR, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago, that it was talking about the tech bubbles.
Oh, yes, yes. There was.
I'll try to find it for the show notes.
We'll see if we can get a hold of it. It was
Shilly McShill.
Yeah, it was the shilliest guy ever talking to I can't remember which reporter it was on NPR, but she was so irritated, because she was being really polite to him, but you could tell she was trying to just get him to one time admit that there's a danger of this new tech bubble. And he was saying, he agreed that there's a tech bubble, but then at the same time was also going, but this one's good.
Well,
this is
it was funny because in the
bubble.
beginning of the segment, he was talking about the 4 stages of a bubble, and one of them was rationalization, and then later on he was trying to talk about how the bubble was there, but it was a good one this time.
Yeah, he was completely rationalizing the exact thing that he was...
It's seriously, it's almost doublethink at that point.
Yeah, this guy he was amazing.
Okay, we got to move on.
Okay.
It was a good segment. I like that.
Yeah, so, top 5. So, are you going to read them off? Do you want me to?
can do it.
Yeah, okay. Jurassic Lark. Expedition to seek living dinosaurs in Africa.
This is number 5?
Yeah.
How'd this get so low on the list?
Because it's pretty marginal.
It's not affecting the world.
These are fringe elements.
It's incredible is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, you're gonna feel differently soon about it.
I know. You haven't told me this stat yet.
Okay, let me talk about
Speaking
it.
of startup ideas.
Basically, this guy in Missouri... is using Kickstarter. His name is Stephen McCullough. He's using Kickstarter to fund his expedition. His expedition's goal is to go to the jungle, where was it? I'm trying to remember.
Jungles of Africa, like the Congo?
Yeah, it was the Congo,
It was Congo, yes. Which to be fair, a large portions of the Congo are fairly unexplored.
Yeah.
They
found a
Tim
bunch of
Curry
gorillas.
found
They didn't know
most
we're
of
there.
it.
Tim couldn't do you guys say that.
He got his head smashed by a monkey.
We had to make a joke the other
We've
day.
talked about Congo so many times.
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of Congo is unexplored, but his thing is that he's going to go there and he's going to find a bunch of new species, and he's also convinced that he's going to find living dinosaurs, that they still exist.
Because tribes have like kind of
Because tribes
wise
have
tales
dino
about these.
DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, but beyond that, he also wants to find just new species in general. He started a Kickstarter with this. Of course, Yahoo News reported on it.
It's news.
Yeah, because it's news apparently. Now, funny thing is, when I looked at it, when the article came out, the Kickstarter had a grand total of $10 on it.
That's a good.
Shocking that this...
And how much did it need to earn again? I'm sorry.
The goal was $26,700,
Okay.
which makes sense because if you're bringing that many people into the middle of the Congo, that's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, flights
Kind of
and
arbitrary
cheese.
number, but
It is arbitrary, but it's probably just based on
Some math or tickets.
estimation of cost. So let's. I'm gonna have you. We're gonna go around the table. I'm gonna have you three guess how much the Kickstarter has in it right now.
well, I have a pretty big hate of humanity, so I'm going to guess around 8,000.
Okay, what's yours?
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess they're halfway. I'll say 13.3.
Okay.
Is this Price is Right rules? Can we not go over?
$1. You bet $1. $1.
We won't do any prices
I'll
right.
spend $1 over Ryan.
Oh,
You beat Ryan. Actually, he was the closest, but I gotta say, here's what they have. They have a total right now of $10,532.
No, why? Because it was on Yahoo News.
That may be a very good reason why. But that's between, here's the funny thing, that's between only 14 backers, which means someone gave them
super rich
a lot of money.
That's what it was.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that the thing that I wanted to talk about before we move on, I'll try to make it quick, is that their goal pledges. The pledges dictate what they give to people. I don't know if you ever use Kickstarter, but basically, the more you pledge, and they
get
have
cooler
different
stuff.
settings, and you basically get different things if you pledge more. Now, if you pledge like $5, you get email updates. You pledge $100, you get they will
Virtual
personally
blowjob.
they'll personally answer your email questions, so you can ask them questions about the thing, and they'll answer them. $1,500, you get your name attached to the official name of a new species discovered during the expedition, and $10,000, of course, you get the species named after you, and that's it. Like you basically can have it named after solely you.
So Benson's frog.
Yeah, exactly.
See, John Mellencamp would have a problem if he did this 20 years ago, because it would be the John Cougar Mellencampicus, and then it would be John Mellencampicus. So we get to change it a second time.
Well, at one point it was just John Cougar. Also.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it was Larry David who did it, just so you could have Larry David's spider, and Larry David's crow, or Larry David's cheetah.
Yeah, well, the problem with this whole situation, though, aside from the fact they're trying to find dinosaurs, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, is that none of the people involved in the expedition are heavily trained on
anything.
They don't know what any species are.
They don't know the species.
They're not biologists.
So, and this is the joke that I've made a few times, is that one of them goes, "Hey, look at this spider. What is this?" The other guy's, "I don't know. It must be a new species." Yeah. So they'll name it
Larry David spider.
This has existed for hundreds of years. They already know about it. But no, these guys found it. It's got to be a new species, right? No one's seen that before. They don't fucking know.
Kickstarter.com spider.
So here's what you can do.
Put $10 in and have a tipping.
Yeah, what if a company donates, like Newegg.com
Oh, you
spider?
can. Yeah, it'll just
Tipping 40's spider.
So here's the important thing: you should go to their Kickstarter and start telling them how fucking stupid they are. Because they're retarded.
And if you're thinking about donating to them, instead take the money out of your bank and then go to your toilet and then put the money in the toilet and then flush it.
Or you could
same thing.
Or you could just give them the other 16,000 they need and let them all die in the Congo, because that's probably what's going to happen. They don't know how to fucking.
Or you
live
can
in
donate
the
to us
Congo.
and we'll die from alcohol
like
poisoning.
malaria or something.
Yeah, probably.
They'll probably bring beers and shit. It's like hot.
All right, let's move on.
Number 4, NFL doing players a disservice by expanding Thursday night schedule. So I thought
There's two reasons this is a disservice.
Yeah, so We're mostly bringing this up because we've had a lot of things about league safety and how hypocritical Roger Goodell is.
Yeah.
He always talks about how we need to be more safe in the NFL. Well, he raised the number of Thursday night games to 14 this year.
And for those who
which
don't,
is way more.
How many
than it
were they?
used to
for those
be.
who
I
don't
think there
know,
was like
Thursday night
6.
games are an NFL network, which is owned by the NFL teams.
Yes.
Shocking.
So you can't watch them. Also, they have the worst commentators.
Oh,
They are terrible.
Brian Gumbel.
Well, they don't have him
So you
anymore,
mean
but
the
they're still terrible.
NFL league commissioner wants things that are aired on the NFL network to be
to make more money.
more,
Yeah,
more,
so-
I don't
It
understand.
doesn't make them more money, though, because the ratings suck.
So there's players that they play on a
Like
Sunday.
he doesn't.
Yeah, he gets 100% cut, so
Yeah.
why does he care?
So if you're injured, there's tons of players that have a week-long injury where they don't practice for a week and they play. They don't practice for a week and they play. Well, if you're going to play on a Thursday night game, you're not going to play. Too bad. Fuck you.
How many Thursday night games were there before this?
2 or 3.
no.
Minus not including
After
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was 6 or maybe 5.
Now it's every single week.
After Thanksgiving, they would start doing them every week.
Yeah, now it's every single week, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And it's on NFL Network, which only people with DirecTV have.
Cool.
And it's on my NFL.
No, they have it
teams.
on Cox. It's $12 a month.
But we got
That's insane.
But we got to fine
Crazy expensive.
James Harrison $50,000 for injuring one guy. Hey, well, you're all going to play on Thursdays now. Fuck.
Yeah, that's totally good for
Cool.
you. So, number 3, can Kim Kardashian conquer politics too? By the way,
Yes,
I
she
saw
can.
more. Yeah, probably. Fucking Sarah Palin can. Okay, so first off, I want to point out that I saw more articles about this specific thing than the Jobs Act this week. Easily.
Why is this? What spurned this?
What's that?
What spurned
I'll
this?
tell you.
You don't know about this?
Kardashian shared her political aspirations in a bonus clip. It was on a reel. It was a clip show for the show Chloe and Lamar.
Great.
It wasn't even in the show. It was a
Why does
clip
America
special.
care about these people?
Because she's running for mayor now.
No, this
'Cause
is
they're on
what's
TV.
better. This article written by Ed Payne. I gotta admire this guy. He 100% approaches this like it's a real thing. Like this could happen.
She's running for Glendale, California as well.
Maybe he's
Yeah.
worried.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
Glendale, California. So she said it's a long-term goal, and
What was the goal, though?
To be the mayor of Glendale, California.
this is the best part. Kardashian's potential foray into politics comes after successfully parlaying her looks and business savvy into an empire estimated at $35 million.
She
This is
doesn't
the Mitt
have
Romney
any business
argument.
savvy.
Yeah, I know.
She doesn't have any business savvy.
Yeah, just like Mitt Romney. This is the Mitt Romney argument.
Well, you don't think she can get votes?
Oh, I think she could get
anyone,
votes.
Exactly.
anyone can
Anyone
get
can get
votes.
votes if you have the right people behind you. That's why.
You know, it's kind of depressing to me. We just talked for about 30 minutes on this Job Act, which shows the greed of, America. But this one article makes me way more depressed than that
Yeah,
Jobs
you start
bill did.
reading it. So,
I seriously wish, they could legalize murder just for one day.
but this is the best part. So,
Great.
yeah, this is a great.
Watch out, Kim. He's going to kill you.
Making the political bid attractive to Kardashian is Glendale's ethnic makeup. They're looking at demos! They're looking at fucking demos for this article. Many of the town's residents share her Armenian heritage. This is a quote. Kim has always looked for opportunities to grow and also do what she can do to help and support the Armenian community. When? I've never seen it. Good. Tell me.
I think
Tell me.
I think
No.
her demographics not so much geared towards Armenians as it is the vapid e-watching news demographic.
So, here's another
It's the
great
type
thing.
of people who watch something and they go, she's hot, I'll listen to what she has to say. Listen, looks
This is the
and intelligence are completely separate facts.
This is the
It has
Fox
nothing-
News panagram.
Every actress is hot anyway.
But most
Yeah.
of the representatives aren't smart enough right now, or they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So really,
Yeah,
she would be
well.
just as damaging. But the last thing I want to say is, this is a quote: "It's a great idea," says Ara Narjarian, a city council member and former Glendale mayor. I have offered her
Former
the
mayor?
Yeah. I have offered her the position of honorary chief of staff to my office to help her get acquainted to Glendale. Now, this is the
Oh,
best
so he's
part.
getting blowjobs.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, even if that's not the case, it makes perfect sense because a lot of these politicians, what they want more than anything is attention. They want attention. And what could bring you more attention than having Kim
Kimmy.
Kardashian working in your
Ton of attention.
Yeah.
But the best part of this article is the last paragraph. Because the whole article could have been this paragraph. Officially, Kardashian can't run for mayor. What? She would have to be elected to city council and then selected to be mayor by other council members for a 1-year term.
Never. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate
They had a whole article! They didn't say that!
that happens all the time.
Move on.
Oh my
I'm done
God.
here. Move on.
Number 2.
Speaking of things that make you angry.
Number 2. Olympics 2012, branding police to protect sponsors' exclusive rights. That's a terrible headline.
Yeah, it is a bad headline.
I copied that word for word. Terrible. But
Basically, the sponsors of the 2012 Olympics are hiring firms that will go online and help
Coca-Cola, McDonald's.
police.
branding of different corporate sponsors.
And not only that,
So, well,
including the Olympics.
including the Olympics itself, which is
Yeah.
a brand.
When you guys think of Olympics, what do you think of? I think of McDonald's.
When I think of the Olympics,
So-
I think of some fucking horrible people that run this rigged fucking
I think of
nonsense.
Well, what-
costs
I
and how
think
much
if
one
We're
to
not
murder
talking
him.
about what this actually entails. This entails if you're in the Olympics and you go watch, I don't know, swimming or something, and you take, like, on your camera phone, a video of some dude winning a gold medal.
or even a picture.
Or even a picture.
That's because it has to be on NBC's website.
And you post it up to, I don't know, Facebook or YouTube or whatever. These branding police will be like, hey, look, I see the Olympic logo, I see a McDonald's logo, I see a Ford logo. Fuck that. You're going to take it down for copyright.
It's even better if you're in the village and there's no logos anywhere, and you have a picture of you smiling with your wife going, we just spent $2,500 a ticket for one day at the Olympics. We're really happy for some reason. And then you post that picture even though there's no logos on it. They go, no, that's the Olympic Village. That's copywritten. You can't post that. Now you got to take it down. Now even better. If you are an Olympian, you're actually in the Olympics participating, you go, man, I'm real nervous about the swim meet today. That is also a copyright violation.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. You can't even talk about your own fucking life. You can't do it.
It's pretty hard for me to care less about the Olympics because
It's not so much caring about the Olympics as caring about the state of copyrights.
Personal rights.
Yeah.
90% of the sports in the Olympics are boring sports, not
aren't
interesting
sports.
to watch at all.
'Cause they're
Some of them
So
are
your
even
number 2 is
sports.
just Olympics.
I hate
hammer
the
throw.
Olympics. I hate them.
I like basketball.
Yeah, I like the basketball.
It's
Yeah.
not no, it's not specific sports in the Olympics. I hate them as
It's
a whole
Bob
because
Costas.
they're badly set up. They're stupid.
So, you thought those last two were rage-inducing.
Yeah. So number 1, another chicken one. We got a lot of chicken ones.
Oh, fuck this one.
KFC franchisee fired employees for refusing to serve expired chicken.
It's in Oregon, right?
Now, you heard that right. Refusing to serve the expired chicken.
Not because they served the
They
expired.
got fired for refusing to serve the expired chicken.
So according to the
That's why KFC tastes so bad.
And so this was in Oregon.
That's part of it.
The quote from the article: the lawsuit alleges that in
Chicken grease, salt,
2010,
malt.
a different manager had been ordered. A different manager had been ordered by the franchise owner to serve chicken that was, quote, turning green and was several days beyond the expiration date.
Green chicken, guys.
Instead, that manager threw away the chicken against the orders of the bosses and was then fired.
11 herbs and spices.
Is mold one of them?
And salmonella.
Yeah, that's why I said
No, that's
chicken grease,
number
salt,
12.
malt.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah.
If
Is
you
there
can
really
be.
that much to say about this?
No.
It's ridiculous. It's,
Fuck
Well,
this
they're
game.
saying that apparently it's been happening like to a lot of them all the time. Like,
That
there's
man-
something like before that.
that manager should go to jail. That
Not
should,
the manager, the
The
store
owner, the
franchise.
owner. I mean,
yeah.
The owner should
The manager
fucking go
should be
to jail.
congratulated for doing the right thing.
That's right. It was the manager who. Yeah, you're right. No, they should go to jail. That's not even like. That is literally you had the intent to harm people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go to jail for that. Fucking bullshit.
So hey, he needs to go to Hawaii on his vacation, all right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Maybe he's like one of those hoarders in that show that like the person holds this like up like the nasty chicken or nasty pumpkin.
It's still
like,
good.
This will kill you if you eat this. And they go, no, I eat all the time, man.
Do you think he still eats at KFC?
Yeah.
No. I don't think he ever eats at KFC.
Okay. Well, that's it, I guess. Thanks for listening.
Oh, yeah, I'm the host. Sorry.
I don't know what you're doing over there.
Yeah, that's the podcast, number 47. Just like John Lynch. Yeah, that's the number. So,
All right.
Leave us a voicemail at 218-6. I'm trying to remember it in my head. 218-666-8407. Leave it short. Don't talk about some bullshit forever that doesn't matter. And send us an email at podcast at tipping40s.com.
If you want to correct us with something that takes minutes to tell us, why don't you just send an email instead?
Email's better, yeah. But anyways, thank you for listening, and we will be back next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog.